Where does yoga come from? So continuing our consideration of this question. In the first video, we've already mentioned 3 ideas of sources or origins for yoga: consciousness, observation, the observation of nature, and the lands that we now refer to, or are now commonly referred to, as India. So we've mentioned then that yoga is part of the Indian tradition, that its teachings and findings are all based on the observation of nature, which was enabled by consciousness, and that yoga is a natural impulse or inclination of a conscious human being. So in this video, I'd like to look a little bit more closely at, well, it relates to all 3 of these really, but the idea that yoga comes from the Veda. Perhaps you've heard this idea, yoga is from the Veda, or yoga is part of the Vedic tradition. So what does Veda mean? What is the Vedic tradition, and how does that relate to yoga? What's yoga? How is yoga part of that Vedic tradition? So this is quite a big topic, and we're just going to touch on it briefly here. Veda, literally, we can see its influence coming through to the English language with the word video. Video is something we can see, and Veda is something which has been seen or revealed. So sometimes people talk about the Veda as revelation, and the Vedic texts as revealed texts. Texts that were seen, they were recognized, revealed, they were not authored. In the Sanskrit, they're referred to as apaurushaya, which means created without a human hand, created without the need of an individual human conscious being, a purusha, to create or author them. Unauthored texts. Now, I don't know how that lands with you, but when I first heard of these unauthored texts, I was a little bit puzzled. I thought, well, but it's a text, yeah, I mean, somebody's got to write it down. And then one of my Indian teachers, he gave this lovely explanation of this that I find very, very helpful and practical. And this happened to me. He shared this story with me one time in Mysore, South India. And he said, oh, revealed text, well, it's just like one of your people. What does he mean, your people? He says, I was born in the United Kingdom. He says, yeah, another Britisher, Isaac Newton. There he was. So the story goes, autumn day, sitting in his garden. And I was just recently, it was drawn to my attention recently that apparently the fabled incident when the apple struck Isaac Newton on his head, apparently that happened during a time when there was a plague. And so Isaac was staying in the confines of his house and garden, or the garden of a particular college of the university where he was resident. And in that confined place, he had a lot of time to contemplate and observe nature. So he was doing what the Indian ṛṣi-s did of old. He was sitting under a tree, observing, contemplating nature. There he is, a research scientist. He's a rishi. And sitting under the tree, so the story goes, the apple strikes him on his head. So Alva, my teacher, said, you know, is that not really a rather Indian image? Who does that sound like? Sitting under a tree, and then he came to a recognition. Something was revealed to him. He had this new deep insight. This is very much like the story of the Buddha's enlightenment, sitting under the Bodhi tree. Bodh is the verb to awaken in Sanskrit. So the Buddha is there. He's practicing, he's observing, and then it comes to him. Same for Isaac Newton. There he was, so the story goes, sitting in that orchard in that autumn day and during the time of a plague. But it's all peaceful under his tree, and he's observing nature, he's contemplating the mysteries of life and reality and existence, and the apple drops down and strikes him on his pate. And then it comes to him. Are revealed to him these laws of motion. Now, as my teacher pointed out, these laws of motion were not invented by old Isaac, were they? He saw them. He recognized a truth of existence that was obtaining, that was true before he recognized it. It was there. It was a phenomenological reality. But he saw it, he recognized it. Then once he'd seen it and recognized it, when it was revealed to him, then he set it down in a linguistic form, or formulae, that were then useful for other human beings. And so it's a type of Veda. He didn't author or invent the laws of motion. He recognized these truths of existence that were true before he recognized them, that are still true within certain parameters and conditions today. These perennial truths of reality or of nature, he saw them, he recognized them, and then he set them down in a form that's useful for other human beings. And this is the idea of the revealed tradition of the Veda. These Indian texts which were not authored, they were the product of a rishi, a human being, a conscious human being, who was using their consciousness to observe and contemplate reality. And in that contemplation of nature and reality, they came to this recognition. So another word for texts like Vedas is Āgama. Maybe say that, Āgama. And Āgama means that which has come. So in the Indian tradition, we have the Vedic body of writings, and we also have non-Vedic writings or tantric writings. And within the tantric writings that are not part of the Veda, these revealed texts, these tantras, they're also known as Āgama, that which came. So there Isaac is sitting under his tree, and it came to him, this recognition of the laws of motion. It was revealed to him. So Veda, that which is revealed, Āgama, that which has come. Now, how did it come to Isaac? He made himself available. I was not there as a witness as it happened, but I can imagine, my conjecture is that he was sitting under the tree, and there was a certain spaciousness in his awareness. There was a certain openness in his attitude. He was contemplating reality without specific expectations. He was there, present, and he made himself open and alert. And in that state of open, ready alertness, he was able to receive. He was able to have things revealed to him. He had adopted an attitude that made things able to come to him. And so this is, again, very linked to the type of attitude that we need to cultivate, or we're encouraged to cultivate when we're practicing yoga. We also need to practice and cultivate this attitude of wonder, of curiosity, of exploration. And we have to practice taking care to not be limited or blinded or blinkered by our expectations. So say, for example, we're working with a particular yoga technique that we work with frequently or regularly. Let's say, for example, like Surya Namaskara. When we do the Surya Namaskara, we can tune into so many different qualities or aspects of that technique. How I root down to the earth and how I can harness the support of the earth to move steadily. How I can link that to this quality of fluidity in the element of water. How I can link that to the element of fire and feel as I root down and stay connected to a grounded quality of energy, and I feel energy circulating and flowing in my body, how then that can kindle an internal warmth that can spread easily through the whole of my being and connect to the element of air that allows communication between all the different parts, and invite myself into a space of greater cohesion, greater wholeness, greater balance, integration, and, let's say, vitality or aliveness. So the attitude that allowed these revealed teachings, these recognitions to come to the great rishis, is the very same type of attitude that they encourage us to adopt in our practice. So Veda is revelation. Now, I'm going to pause there and speak a bit more about Veda, or the Vedic tradition, in the next video.